What up? It's Jimmy from odds.com. We just broke down every single game on the NFL card starring Rob Bebenek, special guest, the whale capper. If you want to watch the whole video, it is exclusively on odds.com. Just hit the link on the bottom of the screen. It will take you right there. Chiefs, Raiders, big Sunday nighter, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Kansas City Chiefs 8-1, 4-0 away at the Las Vegas Raiders, 6-3, 2-2 at home. These Chiefs open up as 7-point favorites. That's moved to 6.5. At the 6.5, depending on where you shop, you can get a plus line or you can get a juiced line. Like, it's very important to line shop on this one. This total opened up at 55. It's now at 56.5 or 57. Chiefs coming off their bye week with Revenga. And I would have screamed that louder if my daughter wasn't sleeping very close. I would have screamed Revenga, although I did learn that Revenga doesn't mean revenge. And
what?
Yeah, Revenga doesn't. I thought Revenga meant revenge. It means something else. It means something else. And those of you that are Pacino fans and love. Okay, let's keep going. Chiefs come in off their bye week with revenge in mind. Their only loss of the year was 40-32 at home against these Raiders. The Raiders team bus supposedly did a victory lap around the stadium. I guess with COVID, only Andy Reid was in the parking lot. I don't know what to say. Good thing a Chiefs player wasn't there with a gun in his mouth. Reid's excellent numbers off of buys are well known. High percentage victory rate, also unders after bye weeks. They were last seen in a 33-31 win at home over the Panthers, and it begged a ton of questions. It was the 23rd straight game the Chiefs scored at least 23 points, breaking their own NFL record. Mahomes beat Dan Marino's Hall of Fame, who cares about his Ace Ventura's Dan Marino's mark for fewest games to 100 career touchdowns. Mahomes did it in 40. Marino did it in 44. Mahomes had another incredible game, 30-45 for 372 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Kelsey caught 10 passes for 159 yards. Tyreek Hill caught 9 passes for 113 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yet they only managed 36 yards on the ground from 11 carries. Panthers put up 435 yards on them. Right tackle Mitchell Schwartz, back injury. Sammy Watkins, hamstring were inactive. Schwartz is expected back. Watkins is still questionable. Tucker Carlton left in the first half with a leg injury. It turned out to be a fracture. He's out. Right tackle Mike Remmers left early in second with a rib injury. He's listed as questionable. Cornerback Rashad Fenton sprained his ankle against the Panthers and is listed as questionable. I'll get into the Raiders later. Let's start with the Chiefs. Whale capper, Sunday nighter, Chiefs Raiders. Take it away.
Couple of COVID question marks that matter, particularly on the offensive line here, that I'm keeping my eye on. But I don't think you can wait if you want the Chiefs. I think this is going 7 across the board relatively quickly here. And I think that's the right move. I think this should be 7, 7.5, not 6.5. I'm down on Kansas City at minus 6.5 because I do think this is going their direction. I agree with in general that they match up well in every phase of the game against the Raiders. The Raiders defense last week was a mirage. They got some pretty fluky turnovers, a pretty fluky penalty luck against that Denver team that kind of improved their overall defensive rating, which I think is nonsense. And, Pat Mahomes and Kansas City in general coming off of this bye have to be looking at across the NFL right now and like, man, if we buckle down and play hard, down the stretch here, we can get the 1 seed. We can repeat on our AFC title run here. And I think it starts with this game. And the flip side is true. If you give away a second game to the Raiders, all of a sudden there are some question marks if you're even going to win the AFC West, which is wild to even say it. But this is a pretty important game, pretty high leverage game. We've seen a much more sophisticated and plus EV game plan and game script out of Andy Reid when he's going up against an opponent that he feels like is a high leverage game. That gives me a little bit more confidence to back Kansas City in this spot, even though it's a pretty big number on the road. This is another indoor game, fast turf, fast team. I think Pat Mahomes puts on a show. And I think the Chiefs take care of business.
Ravenga. That's what you're saying. Ravenga.
Oh, yeah.
And I was shocked when we learned that wasn't, I didn't mean revenge. Because I used to scream it all the time after watching Scarface. Bebsie, what do you think of this spot here? What do you think of, and what do you think of this not moving to 7.5 or 8? I mean, let's just quickly, Whale Capper, hasn't this sort of moved in the Raiders' direction?
Yeah, I think you saw some. I think it was concern over Mitchell Schwartz's COVID list, although it wasn't from a positive test as far as I could tell you. And but then the exact Cleveland Farrell had his best game as a pro against Kansas City the first time, and he is on the COVID list. And as far as I can tell you, that is because of a positive test. So there's a couple of funky COVID situations to watch in this one. But in the weird happenstance that there's a cluster injury across the offensive line for Kansas City, I'm feeling not so great about this.
Bebsie, take it away, my man.
Honestly, my apprehension on this one comes solely because it feels like the Chiefs smash coming out of the bye, looking for some revenge. This is a game that, if you would have asked me at the start of the year if I thought this would be that important or as important as it is, I would have said no. And I liked the Raiders being better this year. I just really thought KC was just going to roll. I didn't see a lot of losses on their schedule, period. And my only apprehension is because I wonder why this line is only sitting in and around 7. I really think, in all likelihood, they should come out and kick the absolute shit out of the Raiders this week. But I just I don't know. I'm apprehensive for that reason. Does it not feel like Chiefs smash?
I guess what would be your power number for Kansas City right now? How many points over an average team on a neutral? 9, 10, even 8, something like that.
Yeah, 9.5.
9.5. How? And what about the Raiders? They're a little better than average. 6-3. They've beaten some average teams. They're like +2, +3, maybe.
Well, the biggest problem is that the Raiders' offense I have a lot more trust in than I do have their defense.
Oh, without question. Yeah, their offense is bona fide top 5. Yeah.
Yeah, and against KC, like, you better have a damn good defense, and they don't really. Like you mentioned, Cleveland Farrell played well last game, but I mean he's largely been a bust in his NFL career.
Yeah,
I mean, coming out of Clemson, I loved him. I thought he was great, but it's starting to look like maybe the other guys on that line were propping him up a bit. Max Crosby's had a better NFL career, and he came out of the 4th round.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's for that reason. Like I really feel like the Chiefs should be able to light this up, but I'm sure Gruden's had this game scheduled on his calendar as well, and I think they're going to be able to answer and come back firing as well.
Yeah. I guess my larger point was, I think anyone with like a math model or power numbers is probably looking at KC 9, 9.5, maybe 10. Raiders 2 or 3. So your separation there is only 6, 7 points. And if you give the Raiders any kind of home field advantage, and granted this is a night game in Vegas, and who knows if there'll be totally fair refereeing. Who knows? There could be some home field advantage at play here for the Raiders. So the fact that it's under 7 isn't crazy, and I think there's probably a lot of people out there with just strictly math-based models that were probably betting the number because they were like, look, these teams are closer than 7, and I don't think that that's how it will manifest. I think we'll see a very impressive win from Kansas City, and I think this is one of those where there'll be a pretty sizable split between people who have specific feelings about the Chiefs in this spot and them performing to the top of their level, whereas the Raiders maybe the middle of their level or the lower end of their level. So it's an interesting game, and it's going to be a pretty funny split in terms of who's on which side.
Carr is being very good this year, and it's not really shown with his statistics. I mean, he's throwing for under 200 yards in his last 3 games, all 3 very comfortable wins. He's not making mistakes. He's in complete control. He's leading by example on the sidelines, in the locker room, everything he's saying. He's a different quarterback than I remember him being.
Well, he's got
coming off. Say what?
He's got some help. He's got a fabulous running back, which of course he had last year, but
and now 2 with Devontae Booker stepping up.
And he's also got, like, honestly, Ruggs opens up so much with his speed. You have to, if he's on the field, you have to respect his speed. So that just opens up so much for him.
He didn't look great in that Judy Ruggs face-off last week, but Carr only went 16-25 for 154 yards. But it was a dominant 37-12 win over the Broncos. The Raiders, with Booker and Jacobs rolling. I mean, Jacobs ran 21 times for 112 yards. Booker ran 16 times for 81 yards. The defense got 4 interceptions and a fumble recovery, 2 sacks, and 4 tackles for losses. Jalen Richard hurt his ribs on a special teams play. The MRI came back clean. I mean, he's just a special team player now, but he's a dangerous special teams guy. Offensive tackle Colton Miller and defensive tackle Maurice Hurst are listed as questionable to go this week. We have the whale capper on the Chiefs. And, well, did you get them at 6.5? Is that what you got them?
Yeah.
And what was the juice that accompanied it?
I got it a flat 6.5. I think that's still around town, right? Hasn't moved that much.
Flat.
A couple shops moved to 7.
Yeah, I mean the
You
6.5
can
is the juice now.
There's actually weirdly back in the day. You remember back in the day when we used to look at offshores? There's some.
I don't believe that one
out there.
I don't believe that one at Penny. Is that what you're looking at?
Oh, you don't think that's right?
No, I would go on to Penny's site. I don't believe they'd be 20 cents off of everybody else.
Okay.
If anybody's got an account, if they do you think that they'd be 24 cents off of the rest? I think that's
no.
I
don't.
to see that. Yeah, I'd have to see that before I lock that in. There you go, Chiefs, Raiders. We have whale capper on the Chiefs minus 6.5. Bebsie, do you want to make a move on this?
I gotta look at this game some more. I'm not super confident in it.
No worries. Lots of time, Bebsie. And we need to bounce back. And that leads us into the Monday Nighter.
To close the loop, real quick to close the loop, it's off the board at Penny. That's a stale number.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I mean, they wouldn't be 20 cents off. In fact, it's off the board at most major books, even though it's off the book. It's off the board at Bet365. And does that have to do with the COVID issues you were talking about?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, the Raiders put 3 guys on defense on the list, and the Chiefs have a couple of guys on offense, although the Chiefs one, to me, it sounded less likely that they were positive tests. So tough to say. A lot of speculation, which is probably why they went down.
I know we got to go into our final game, but how have you handled COVID, Whale Capper? Are you waiting much longer than general to make bets?
No, it's broken both ways for me so far this season. I've gotten screwed on a couple, and I've gotten gifted on a couple. So I can't. It hasn't really changed my process at all. I'll tell you where it's really helped out is college football. Man, if you don't have anyone that has any friends on campus that know who's in, who's out, that's like massively plus EV info. I've gotten a bunch of free winners in college on a little bit of COVID info. Probably shouldn't be talking about that, but yeah, it's in the NFL. In the NFL, it hasn't broken one way or the other for me. So I've just been doing my thing.